You look like you've been carrying something heavy. Not in your hands, deeper than that. The kind of tired sleep doesn't quite touch. I know that type. Known it most my life. If I had to guess, I'd say you feel like you're falling behind. Like everyone else got handed a map and you're still trying to figure out which way's north. Like you're running a race you never signed up for and somehow still losing. You're not alone in that. I see it in folks more and more these days. Eyes always scanning ahead, measuring themselves against lives they only half understand. Let me tell you something I learned watching horses years back. You ever see a young horse trying to keep up with the herd? Works itself half to death. Every stride stretched too far. Thinks it's got to match every pace or get left behind. But the old mare, she knows better. She knows the herd ain't racing anywhere. They're just moving. And moving is different than running yourself ragged. That's what most folks don't realize. You're not behind. You're just covering ground that's yours. Your life was never meant to look like anybody else's. Never has, never will. I spent years building fences on this land. Started more than I care to admit. Finished maybe half. Used to keep me awake at night thinking about all those unfinished lines cutting across my property like broken promises. Every post I didn't sink, every rail I didn't set. Then one winter, I'm standing out there in the snow, and I see it different. Those fences I never finished, they still did something. They marked where I'd been. They showed me what I learned. Some I left unfinished because I got wiser about where a fence ought to go. Some because the land taught me it didn't need one there at all. Your unfinished things aren't failures. They're proof you were brave enough to begin and wise enough to stop when something wasn't meant to be carried further. This guilt you're hauling around about not doing enough, not being enough, it's like trying to haul water in your bare hands. The tighter you grip, the more it slips away. I've watched good people pour themselves empty trying to prove they matter, missing the truth the whole time. You already do. Not because of what you've accomplished, not because of how far along you are, just because you're here, still breathing, still trying. There's a pine outside my window. Old thing, must be a couple 100 years by now. You think that tree worries it should have grown faster? That it should be taller by now? It just grows at the pace it grows. Storms slow it down, droughts test it, lightning scars it. Still, it stands. That's all you got to do too. Just stand. Just be here. The world needs you present far more than it needs you impressive. I know you look around and see folks who seem further along, lives all tied up neat like a good bedroll. Here's a secret I learned late. Nobody's got it figured out, not a single soul. Some are just better at hiding their unfinished fences. Some of the strongest people I ever knew looked lost their whole lives. Turns out they were just walking a path nobody else could see yet. Sometimes being lost isn't failure. Sometimes it's being early. I know you're tired of trying, tired of falling short, tired of chasing some version of yourself you think you're supposed to be. So hear this, hear it slow. You don't have to catch up. There's nowhere you're supposed to be except right here. This moment, this tired, uncertain, unfinished moment. It's real, and you're doing better in it than you think. Your pace is your pace. Your path is your path. And the timing of your life answers to no clock but its own. I've lived long enough to see the seasons turn so many times they start to feel like old friends. And every season taught me the same lesson. Things happen when they're ready, not when you force them, not when you panic. When they're ready. That includes you. You're not behind. You're just not done yet. And that's exactly how it's supposed to be. So tonight, before you lay that heavy head down, do one thing for me. Forgive yourself for every unfinished fence, for every day you didn't do enough, for not being where you thought you'd be. Forgive yourself the way you'd forgive an old friend who tried their best. Tomorrow, just take one step. Don't worry about the folks ahead. Don't measure yourself against yesterday. Just one step, on your own ground, at your own pace. That's all any of us really do. You know, there's a strange thing that happens when you stop rushing yourself. The world don't suddenly get quieter, but you start hearing different things. The small sounds, your own breathing, the way your thoughts slow down when nobody's asking anything of you. Most folks spend their lives trying to outrun that silence. They keep noise around them like armor, phones, voices, plans stacked on plans. But silence isn't empty. It's honest. And honesty can feel uncomfortable when you've been measuring yourself too hard for too long. I remember a stretch of years where I thought if I just worked harder, moved faster, stayed busier, I'd finally feel caught up, like there was some invisible finish line waiting for me to break through. Never did find it. What I found instead was exhaustion wearing the mask of ambition. Nobody tells you this when you're young, but constantly feeling behind is a sign you've been living by someone else's clock. And those clocks, they don't care what it costs you. They just keep ticking. There were days I'd sit right where you're sitting now, staring into this fire, wondering how life got so loud without saying much at all. Wondering how I could work so hard and still feel like I was missing something. Turns out what I was missing wasn't ahead of me. It was underneath. Rest, presence, the quiet permission to stop proving anything. You don't hear that word much anymore, permission, but a lot of folks are starving for it. So let me give you some right now. You're allowed to slow down. You're allowed to change your mind. You're allowed to want a life that doesn't photograph well. You don't owe the world momentum. I've buried friends who were always on their way to something better. Good people, hard workers, always just one more push away from peace. Funny thing is, peace never waits at the finish line. It sits down beside you when you finally do. There's a comfort that comes with age if you're lucky enough to learn it. You stop asking, "What should I be?" and start asking what feels true. Truth moves slower, but it doesn't exhaust you. If tonight you're replaying old choices, wondering where things might have gone different, let that be. Memory's a strange companion. It visits when it wants, says what it needs, then settles down again. You don't have to wrestle it. Everything that shaped you, even the missteps, brought you right here, and right here is not a mistake. Sometimes life doesn't feel meaningful because it's quiet, but meaning doesn't shout. It hums. It shows up in simple things, a warm drink, a familiar voice, the relief of not being evaluated for a few minutes. If you fall asleep listening to this, that's all right. If your mind wanders, that's all right too. Nothing important is being asked of you here. Just rest in the fact that you're not late to your own life. You're arriving exactly when you're meant to. Tomorrow will take care of itself the way it always does, with or without your worry. For now, stay a while longer if you need. The fire's steady, and you don't have to go anywhere yet.